He arrived in America with 4 cents in his pocket. No money, no connections, just a head full of visions. Within 10 years, he had reshaped the modern world. He saw wireless phones, global networks, self-driving machines, and limitless energy. The world called it madness. Now we call it the future. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, the forgotten genius who gave us everything and was left with nothing. Tesla's path to greatness began in a tiny village in the Austrian Empire, now Croatia. Born to a Serbian Orthodox priest and a mother who loved tinkering with household tools, Nikola Tesla was a prodigy. From childhood, he could solve arithmetic in his head and recite entire books from memory, feats that seemed uncanny. He had what we'd call a photographic memory and an incredible capacity for focus. Legend says that at 17, he nearly died of cholera. Surviving that convinced his father to let him pursue engineering instead of becoming a priest. Tesla immersed himself in science, studying engineering at universities in Graz and Prague. He built early generators and even worked for telegraph and telephone companies, soaking up everything about electricity. By the time he was 27, Tesla decided Europe wouldn't support his bold ideas. In 1884, he gambled everything and emigrated to America. He arrived in New York City with only 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of introduction addressed to Thomas Edison. The letter's author predicted Tesla was one of the 2 greatest men in the world, you and he. Armed with that, the tall, intense Serbian found Edison's workshop and handed it over. Edison immediately hired him. Tesla threw himself into improving Edison's direct current DC generators. Working day and night, he rewired the machines to be much more efficient. It seemed Edison would stand by his promise of a $50,000 bonus when the job was done. But when Tesla reminded Edison of the reward, Edison only scoffed, calling the whole thing an American joke. Furious at the insult, Tesla quit that very evening, telling Edison, "I don't care to remain with a man who talks dollars when the work is done." The partnership was over. On his own now, Tesla set up a modest lab on Spruce Street in Manhattan and began thinking differently. He decided electricity should flow not just one way, but back and forth. In other words, alternating current, AC, instead of DC. In Tesla's view, AC was like sending power as a fast swing of back and forth oscillations. This simple change allowed one brilliant advantage. Transformers could boost AC to very high voltage for sending it far away through cables, and then drop it down low again for safe use in homes and factories. DC generators could light a city block, but AC could light entire states. Tesla patented a complete AC system in 1888. Generators, transformers, and even a new kind of induction motor that ran on 3-phase AC. His motor used coils arranged so that the magnetic field literally rotated and turned the shaft, without any brushes or mechanical commutators. Tesla often said he built that motor in a flash. He described how one afternoon, while strolling in a park reciting Goethe, the entire solution came to him at once. He sat down, drew the design in the sand with a stick, and then went back home to build exactly what he had seen in his mind. It was as if he'd projected the finished machine in his head. The next year, George Westinghouse, a rich American inventor, saw a demonstration of Tesla's AC model and immediately signed a contract to use Tesla's patents. "This is the greatest improvement ever made in the field of electrical science," he reportedly said. The stage was set for a showdown: Edison's DC versus Tesla's AC. Edison fought dirty. He went on a public relations blitz to scare people away from AC. His teams electrocuted stray dogs and horses with AC in front of crowds, calling it the execution current. In 1903, they even electrocuted an elephant named Topsy, warning the public that AC was a terrifying demon. Tesla was horrified. He believed electricity should be a blessing, not a fright. He insisted that AC could be made perfectly safe with the right equipment. The public was confused. Would alternating current become a monster? The answer came in 1893 at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Westinghouse and Tesla arranged for the fair to run entirely on AC power. As dusk fell on opening night, President Grover Cleveland flipped a single switch from the White House by telegraph. Instantly, 100,000 light bulbs blazed to life. Classical buildings, gleaming white in the glow, outlined the fair in brilliant light. Fountains spouted water illuminated like electric fireworks. The crowd gasped in amazement. It was the first major test of Tesla's system, and it turned darkness into day. That night, alternating current shed its sinister image. It became a wonder. Tesla quietly watched, a faint smile on his face, as the lamplight festooning the exposition proved him right. For him, it wasn't magic, just physics. But everyone else saw a miracle. Soon it was time for Niagara Falls in 1896, where Tesla's AC system had another moment in the spotlight. There, massive Westinghouse generators turned the roaring waterfall into electricity. When the Niagara plant switched on, the lights of Buffalo 20 miles away flickered on. Factories hummed. The Titanic era began. For the first time, one of America's greatest natural wonders was tamed by Tesla's invention. Hydroelectric power had arrived. Thanks to that success, AC became the world standard. Edison's dream of DC power running everywhere faded. Alternating current won the war of the currents decisively. And yet, ironically, Tesla's name was still mostly behind the scenes. The generation of power changed forever, but the man remained relatively unknown to the public. Tesla didn't stop at wires and turbines. He loved to dazzle people in person. In New York, he built giant high-frequency coils that could produce enormous bursts of electricity. He would fill a demonstration hall with 12-foot arcs of artificial lightning, making the entire place glow. With one of these coils, he held a fluorescent light bulb in his hand, with no wires attached, and it lit up from the coil's wireless energy. In another stunt, he would loop a metal screw around the laboratory and charge it until it shone brighter than a 200-watt lamp. Spectators thought he was performing magic tricks. Tesla explained it as resonance. He had tuned 2 electric circuits to the same frequency, so that energy jumped through the air, lighting lamps at a distance. In a way, he was demonstrating what we today call inductive coupling, the principle behind wireless chargers and RFID tags. But in 1900, it was mind-blowing. In 1898, Tesla took his show on stage again for a new marvel. He hid behind the curtains at another New York exhibition and presented a wooden boat and a water tank. In his hand, he held a box full of electrical switches and wires. He sent out invisible radio signals, and the boat on the water obeyed every command. Its propeller spun, the rudder turned, and lamps on the deck blinked on and off, all without wires. The crowd gasped, thinking it was voodoo. In fact, Tesla had invented the world's first radio-controlled robot boat. He called it a teleautomaton. He even proposed it to the US Navy as the basis for a radio-guided torpedo. The Navy was skeptical. War machines unmanned by wires seemed too futuristic, so they passed. But Tesla had proven the concept. The idea of controlling machines from afar had been born. That idea of wireless control led him to a bolder vision. If radio waves could steer a boat, could something bigger be done? Tesla believed the entire Earth was like one giant conductor that could carry energy and messages if hit just right. In 1899, he decided to test his wildest theories at a laboratory in the Rockies, Colorado Springs. There, at high altitude, he built the most powerful electrical oscillator of his career, a Tesla coil on a huge scale. When he cranked it up, he lit street lamps 10 miles away without wires and created artificial lightning bolts shooting 135 feet into the air. He described sparks leaping like fiery serpents from the sky. On one stormy night, he even picked up an eerie repeating signal on a primitive radio receiver. Tesla excitedly thought it could be a message from Mars. It turned out to be natural atmospheric noise, but Tesla's mind had already leapt into the realm of sci-fi. He shared the news with newspapers. We might not be alone after all. And in Tesla's mind, electricity was the key to the stars. Flush with those experiments, Tesla sketched out his grandest plan yet. In 1901, he set out to build Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island. It was a 187-foot wooden tower with a huge copper dome on top. The press dubbed it Tesla's Tower immediately. Officially, Tesla claimed it would be a giant radio station, sending telegraph signals to ships and countries across the ocean. But in secret, Tesla dreamt of something far bigger, a global wireless power network. He believed he could take all our electrical needs out of the wires and send it through the earth and the sky. He said people would soon be able to light homes as simply as we tune radios. He invited investors like J.P. Morgan to tour the facility. One evening, a newspaper reporter wrote that sparks from the tower's transmitter lit up the beach and ocean in an eerie red glow. Tesla beamed and told everyone he had proven something amazing. The Earth could resonate with electrical energy. Unfortunately, dreams need dollars, and eventually the money dried up. Tesla had promised wireless telephony to Morgan, but then added wireless power to the pitch. The financier got nervous about giving away the secret of cheap energy. By 1906, Morgan pulled out his funding. Wardenclyffe Tower's construction stopped and was soon dismantled. The world shrugged, and Tesla's grand experiment ended as quietly as it began. He was left with heavy debts and no paying customers. Despite that blow, Tesla did not completely fade. He patented more inventions in the 1910s, including a bladeless steam turbine engine in 1913, though he never had the funding to build them. There was even newspaper chatter in 1915 that Edison and Tesla might share a Nobel Prize, a bizarre pairing of rivals, but it never happened. By then, Tesla had given away or sold many patents to cover his lab bills. He was effectively finished with large-scale projects. Instead, he continued smaller-scale research and lecturing. One tale has him offering hotel managers the rights to his death ray machine instead of cash to pay his room bills. Only half joking, perhaps. By the 1920s and 30s, Tesla's lifestyle was eccentric but disciplined. He lived in a series of New York hotels, alone with his inventions and his pigeons. He never married, believing celibacy helped preserve his focus. He kept rigid habits: dinner at exactly the same time each night, a specific number of napkins, 18 of them, on the table, because he had an obsession with numbers, and he polished his silver cutlery exactly 18 strokes each time. He refused to shake hands with people wearing jewelry or pearls, fearing it interfered with energy flows. Passers-by would see him walking the same route, often circling a block 3 times before crossing to avoid the number 13. These quirks made him a character of legend. For companionship, he actually had an unusual friend: pigeons. Tesla spent evenings in Central Park feeding flocks of them. One particular white pigeon became his special pet. She would perch on his shoulder and coo while he talked to her. When that bird was struck by a car and died around 1922, Tesla was reportedly heartbroken. In an interview, he shockingly admitted, "I loved that pigeon, as a man loves a woman." It's one of the strangest things he ever said, but maybe it was true. After that, he seemed to lose the last spark of personal comfort. In the 1930s, even in his 70s and 80s, Tesla remained a visionary. In interviews, he predicted things like television and even portable phones. He described devices that would fit in a vest pocket, letting people see and hear each other across oceans. He spoke of a global wireless network long before the internet, and he discussed robots and automation decades before machines became commonplace. Reporters often treated him as a charming old man whose head was in the clouds, but many of his predictions turned out to be spot on. Whenever a new invention appeared, someone would remark, "Hey, Tesla thought of that." On January 7, 1943, Nikola Tesla's life came to an end. He was 86, and he had been living mostly unnoticed in the Hotel New Yorker. That morning, a maid found him asleep in his bed. He died quietly of heart failure. The newspapers barely ran his obituaries. Wartime headlines overshadowed the passing of a genius. However, the moment his death became known, government agents swooped in and seized all of Tesla's papers, worried that he might have left behind plans for some fantastical weapon. Books and later movies would speculate about the Tesla files, but in reality, most of his major ideas were already published or under patent. For years after his death, Tesla's story drifted in the shadows. The world continued running on alternating current. That humble light switch in your home still uses the rotating magnetic field Tesla invented. Yet, classroom history skipped over Tesla. Edison got credit for the electric light, Bell for the phone, and Marconi for radio. Tesla became a footnote, a quirky anti-hero. But engineers and scientists knew the truth. In 1943, the US Supreme Court even recognized some of Tesla's radio patents over Marconi's claim. Slowly, the technical community began to reevaluate Tesla's place in history. Decades later, something remarkable happened. People rediscovered Tesla. In the 1960s and 70s, books and magazines started telling his story. Electricians built Tesla coils in garages and marveled at old photos of him surrounded by arcs of electricity. In 1960, he even got his own unit. The Tesla T became the SI unit for magnetic field strength, immortalizing his name in textbooks. Fans around the world began to celebrate July 10th, his birthday, as Nikola Tesla Day, complete with lightning demonstrations and lectures. By the 21st century, Tesla had become a pop culture icon. A famous electric car company took his name, reigniting his fame. He turned up as a character in novels, video games, and comic books, sometimes as a genius, sometimes as a mad scientist, always as a legend. Statues of Nikola Tesla now stand in Belgrade and Niagara Falls. A commemorative stamp in Serbia shows his face. In engineering schools, he's finally taught. It might have taken a century, but the forgotten genius was found again. Today, we live in Tesla's world, more than most people realize. Every home using AC power is using his system. Every electric motor, from a subway train to a pocket fan, works on the rotating magnetic field he discovered. Those wireless earbuds you use? They rely on principles from his coil experiments. The smartphones in our hands, the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth all around us, the GPS satellites above. Tesla predicted them. In 1926, he said we'd carry pocket-sized devices to communicate globally. And here we are doing exactly that. Tesla also spoke of energy differently than almost anyone of his era. He warned that burning coal and oil would ultimately fail. He set up clean hydroelectric plants when most people still burned wood. He talked about capturing solar energy or cosmic rays long before it was fashionable. Now, as the planet turns toward renewable power, his early foresight seems uncanny. Researchers are even experimenting with wireless power transmission in small ways, recharging phones and cars without plugs, which is exactly what Tesla dreamed at Wardenclyffe. Nikola Tesla's life was truly epic. He soared to genius and fame, plunged into obscurity, and then rose again in our stories. His inventions, the AC motor, the Tesla coil, radio control, have shaped our modern age. He once said, "The present is theirs. The future for which I really worked is mine." In many ways, we live in that future now. Every time we switch on a light or talk on a cell phone, we're walking in the world he helped build. We may have called him the forgotten genius, but today his name powers the future. One last astonishing chapter. Tesla's so-called earthquake machine. He built a small steam-powered oscillator to test mechanical resonance. According to stories, he attached it to a structure in New York in 1898 and turned it on. Soon the building began to tremble. Windows rattled on nearby streets. People panicked, fearing a real earthquake. Police broke in, worried Tesla had set off a bomb. He calmly turned the device off, smiling and saying he'd discovered the Earth's resonant frequency. He boasted afterward that had he not shut it down, he could have leveled half of Manhattan. This earthquake machine became legend, illustrating just how close Tesla's experiments skirted the laws of nature. Tesla never lost the thrill of invention. He once said, "I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor who sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success." Those words capture him perfectly, a man whose brain unleashed devices that forever changed the world. Even now, engineers honor Tesla by holding Tesla Coil Nights at conferences and sharing his quotes as inspiration. Every July 10th, enthusiasts light up modern coils in celebration. In that sense, Tesla lives on in every flickering neon bulb and every mile of power line. As we look to the future he envisioned, Tesla would probably smile at what he sees. Wireless networks everywhere, the vast internet, electric vehicles gliding silently on AC motors. He might shake his head that we waited so long to build something like Wardenclyffe, but he'd be gratified that the world is catching up to many of his visions. So remember Tesla next time you send a wireless message, or flip on a light, or charge a device with no cord. His wires are still humming under every socket, and the child of light did indeed light the way for our modern age.